Oh my God, 259. I hope you got something out of that. I felt like the school teacher trying to control the classroom. It was crazy, but it was awesome.
Forget about it.
Yeah.
We're in control
And
here.
there's always a new episode, like 261. This one, yeah. And we go to our traditional leadoff man who's batting second today, Fred Wilcox.
Last week, Roy Buchanan's name was mentioned, and I am a big Roy Buchanan fan. He definitely should be up there with all the great guitarists, Jeff Beck, Jimmy Page, Joe Walsh, Eric Clapton. In 1971, he came out with his first album on Polydor Records, and it came out in a burlap bag. Retro blues and deep blues rock. It had his signature song, Messiah Will Come, and After Hours. He did some great songs on that album. And then the second album came out, his second one, and it sold really well. The Polydor years are in a 2 CD set called Sweet Dreams, the anthology. And it contains The Messiah Will Come, After Hours, Green Onions, CC Rider, Joe Walsh's Turn to Stone. It's flawless. It's incredible and raw passion, and a killer live version of Down by the River where his guitar just shreds the song and blows it into the stratosphere. Another anthology is a 1 CD set, Guitar on Fire. It's his Atlantic years. And that came out in, those recordings were around, came out in 76. And the first 5 cuts are all incredible instrumentals. The CD starts off with Raymond's Blues. The Heart of the Battle is the second cut. Hidden. Another version of Green Onions with Steve Cropper playing on the cut. His Atlantic years, a number of the albums were produced by Stanley Clarke, the jazz bass player. And he augmented Roy Buchanan's band with Billy Cobham on drums, the Becker brothers on horns, and like I said, Steve Cropper joined him. It's all the solos are inspiring, and he really stretches out. It's an incredible anthology. They did have problems with Roy. He sometimes in the last few years when Atlantic, he wasn't showing up with enough material or wasn't ready to record. He had a passive aggressive career. His attitude was passive aggressive. He didn't put, sometimes he didn't put his best into it. And he had a mixed feelings about being a star or being on stage. He did a version of Further Down the Road when he was Atlantic, and they gave Eric Clapton that version to listen to, and he stole the arrangement and never gave credit to Roy Buchanan. There's some great other recordings on this Atlantic record. He does Hendrix If 6 Was 9 and Running Out, Man on the Floor, and he does another version of The Messiah Will Come Again, which is, like I said, his signature song. Then I would point out 2 other things you might want to get is live albums, Live Stock and Live in Japan. there's now that some cuts from these live albums are going to overlap on the anthology, but they're worth having. It's one of it's his most inspired playing live. Some reviewer said the techniques were astonishing. His riffs are to the maximum. And he does psychedelic blues on it, and he's just incredible playing. And in live in Japan, which came out in 2003, he does a great version of Booker T's Soul Dressing. Just a great instrumental. Both live albums are worth having. Then he finally left Atlantic, took a 5-year break, and then ended up in 1985 on Alligator Records, a blues label. And some of his albums were mixed, but the one that stands out the most is Dancing on the Edge. It has 6 instrumentals on it and 5 vocals with Dilbert McClinton, a great blues rock singer, doing the vocals on that album. Like in 1988, unfortunately died. I heard he broke a parking meter, and then another story said he tore a phone out of the wall in a bar, and the police arrested him. I think it was in Virginia, and there's doubtful stories about his demise, but they said he hung himself with his t-shirt in his cell. Either way, whatever happened, it's sad, and he remains sort of underrated when guitar players' names come up. But this is a guy that the Rolling Stones wanted at one time, and he didn't join, and he astonished Jeff Beck. Jeff Beck learned things from him. And so one reviewer said his techniques just stunned and puzzled other guitar players. They left them in awe. And his riffs just went to the max. And I think if you listen to his music, you'll be in awe also.
I thought Jim might have something to say.
His last album, I think it was his last album, the one, I think it's called When a Guitar Player Plays the Blues. Isn't that the name of the album? I love that album. I mean, just from start to finish, man, every cut. Wales. Great stuff. And British guy. And it was interesting. He went back and forth.
No, he wasn't British.
He was
American.
He was an American.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought he was British.
I think he was from Maryland.
Oh, well, that's not British.
He went up to Canada. He actually played with Robbie Robertson and the Hawks behind Ronnie Hawkins.
Oh, nice.
And Robbie Robertson learned some really good guitar licks from him. Robbie was playing a bass, and then Roy Buchanan left, and Robbie took over as guitarist.
Yeah, I thought he was British, but I guess not. Good. Now I know. Yeah, listen to him for a long time.
People discovered him in Washington, D.C. playing clubs.
What would you like to be the tagline for this episode?
Some of it sounds like if you like Robert Trower or Jeff Beck, you'll like Roy Buchanan, or you can call it Remembering Roy Buchanan.
Okay. Thank you, Fred.